But go ahead, baby.
Okay,
Start talking to him.
the music down?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in again. Um, as you all know, if you've been tuning in with us these last 3 weeks, you know that we've been doing a 3-part series called Opting Out Isn't an Option. The 3 P's of marriage: purpose, passion, and perspective. We talked about purpose in the first week. We talked about the importance of establishing your purpose in your marriage prior to being married. We also talked about the importance of understanding that passion is necessary in your marriage but should not define your marriage. And today we're talking about perspective and how your marriage can change with a change of your perspective. So I'm not going to get into it yet until my husband joins me. See, you guys like my shirt, so this was inspired. It says, my husband's not here, but Jesus is. I got the grocery store inspired me to make this shirt because me and Anthony were at the grocery store and this guy was just like, hey, what's your name? No, he said, no, hey, you beautiful. I said, oh, thank you so much. And of course he couldn't leave it at you beautiful. But he said, you got a man? I said, actually I'm married. He was like, is he here? And in my head I'm thinking, I'm telling you that I'm married. Why it matter if you're here or not? So, my husband ain't here, but Jesus is. So understand, he watching you on your little faulty ways.
That's
while
right.
You're trying to holler at a married woman.
I see you. I see you.
Jesus see you, boy.
Okay, what's up, everybody? The real show is here. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Man, how was everybody's week? I know we talked to everybody last Thursday. We had a good conversation around passion.
Yes. So how was your week?
My week
so
was
far.
great, actually. My week was great. Let's see what happened this past week for me. I had a couple shoots. Man, what did happen actually? Why can't I remember? Anybody ever have that where you know what happened, but you can't remember what happened?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but whatever. But yeah, I know today was pretty busy for me, as well as yesterday. Yeah, I don't know. What about you?
Pretty good week. Working, same old.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get shirts out for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Just diligently working on my craft in the day job, 9 to 5. But it was a good week nonetheless. So let's go ahead and dive right into it, y'all, because I don't want to keep y'all for too long tonight.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Tonight we're going to talk about perspective and the importance of perspective in your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I have definitely I'll just start it off by saying I've definitely met a lot of people who are having trouble within their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And they always say, oh, he ain't gonna change, he this, and this. Oh, I want a divorce, and just bad mouthing their spouse.
Yeah.
And honestly, the reality is their marriage could potentially change if they shifted their perspective from always noticing the flaws in their spouse to notice a few other things. So the 3 points that we want to hit today are: number 1, change can happen, but you also have to want change. 2, let's talk about reflection. Put that mirror to yourself. And 3, we're going to talk about making a plan to shift your perspective. So let's just talk about you are in a marriage and your spouse may have stepped out on you. Your spouse may do a lot of different things that you do not like, or really you lost your trust within your marriage. It's important to understand that change can happen in your marriage, but you have to want it. Have you checked out already? Because if you've already checked out, then there's no way that we can even fix it.
Yeah.
And if you have checked out, if there's a little ounce of you who wants to make it a little bit better or wants to fix your marriage, then we can talk a little bit. What's your idea on perspective, babe?
My idea on perspective. I think it's something that we inherently I mean, we inherently believe our perspective more than anything else. I mean, it's what's real to us. That's point blank period, right?
Right.
It's what's real to us, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing. I think when it comes to relationships, it can kind of be a bad thing if you don't know how to get out of viewing your own perspective. Yeah, that's on a high level. That's what I think. Yeah.
I definitely. So I read I don't know if it was just an article this past week, and in the article the guy said whether you believe things can change or you believe things cannot change. You're right. And that was Dr. Hawkins, and that was from CBN.com. Mm-hmm. And he was pretty much talking about perspective in your marriage and how shifting your perspective can help create change in your marriage. But you have to understand, he also said that so man thinks he is, therefore he is. And it's so important. You know, people can say that all the time. Well, if I think these positive thoughts, then positive will happen. Mm-hmm. So why not do that in your marriage, right? Mm-hmm. When you change your perspective from "they always do this" or "always do that" to actually paying attention to the details of where the disconnect is within your marriage, then it can spike change. Okay? So once we already talked about change can happen. You gotta want it to happen. Mm-hmm. If you don't want it to happen, then it won't happen. Yep. So let's talk about reflection. It's important. It's easy when you're in a relationship to point out everything that your spouse does. Yep. I mean, I can sit here and lay out all the stuff Anthony do wrong, y'all. I can lay it out.
Trust
he don't put the toilet. He started off good, not putting the toilet seat. He started off good by putting the toilet seat down. You know, little things. And then I guess he got real comfortable. And now the toilet seat just stay up all the time.
Well, my perspective is...
What's your perspective on that?
You have elbows and arms that work as well.
Oh, okay. So, it's easy to make that list of things that your spouse does wrong. But however, it is hard to turn a mirror on yourself and say, what is it exactly that I can do differently?
Yeah. And not like that as well. Mm-hmm. But really stepping outside of your own perspective too. Yeah. I think that's it's playing on the same thing. I'm piggybacking off of what you're saying. What can you do differently? But how you do that is you step outside of your perspective. You try to look at your spouses or your significant others. You try to look at everything from their perspective too. Consider what their mood may be that day. Consider what they went through that day at work. Yep. Consider what may have been going on. I mean, it's really easy to point a finger and say, it's you. It's your fault. But you got to understand, you've been in that situation where I'm pretty sure you've said to yourself, man, why don't people just understand me? Yeah. You know? Mm-hmm. And 9 times out of 10, that can go the same way for the one you love too.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I just don't. I mean, he tried real hard on y'all. He tried really, really hard to understand my perspective. Sometimes it just don't work. But I know for a fact that he's always trying to understand me as a woman, understand me as his wife.
I'm trying.
Right. So another thing in perspective, I said, are you looking at yourself? Because it's important to turn the mirror on yourself and say, what exactly am I doing wrong in this relationship, or what can I do differently? Mm-hmm. Another thing that is also important to remember is when you check in yourself is, am I keeping a record of my spouse's wrongs? Because it's easy to do that. Yeah. You know, if you're constantly harping on what your spouse did a month ago or a week ago, then you really need to have some self-talk because it's not okay. It's not okay. And honestly, if you shift your perspective in your marriage to, instead of, well, last week he did this, or he cheated on me a month ago, and I don't know if he's going to constantly cheat on me. You can shift that perspective to say, well, what can I do to build trust back in this marriage? Mm-hmm. You know? What do you think about that, babe?
Yeah, no, that's 100% fact. I mean that there's ways that you gotta build that trust back, and it only comes through understanding. I think perspective, if we're talking about that, is a way of understanding. Maybe that's a homonym. Is that the word?
What?
Homonym? No, it ain't synonym.
Don't be making me look stupid.
Homonym. Perspective is an homonym. I just like how that sounds. Homonym. It's a homonym for understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
I learn something new every day.
Should
Okay.
write that down.
I'll take all of that.
So somebody look up Marion and make sure I use homonym right for me, please.
Yeah, and then drop it in the comments. Let us know. Another thing that I wanted people to look at is, are you doing the absolute best that you can in your marriage as well? Sometimes our marriages fall down to the wayside, and we're not being the best person that we can be for our spouse. Or, say you are a chronic cheater, and your spouse is having a hard time forgiving you. Are you making it easier, or are you chronically cheating?
Yeah.
And if you have cheated in the past, what are you doing to help rebuild that trust within your marriage? Because if you're not rebuilding that trust within your marriage, your spouse can't do it all by themselves.
At all.
You want your spouse to see something better within you. You want your spouse to see some change. So what are you doing to show your spouse that as well? So are you looking at yourself, turning that mirror on you? What am I doing wrong? Are you keeping a record of the wrong that your spouse has done? And if you are that spouse who's done some wrong within your marriage, what are you doing to shift your partner's perspective?
It's facts.
I mean, seriously. Because people think, well, oh, you said you was going to forgive me. And granted, they should. But that ain't where the work. It doesn't just stop there. Oh, well, you said you would forgive me. So now I'm going to just do all of these different things. No, you want to do a little bit more. So, stepping into each other's shoes and understand that forgiveness is necessary on both ends. Yeah. And that you just have to be the best person that you possibly be for your spouse. Yeah. Okay? And another one is planning. What are you doing to plan for a successful marriage? Yeah. I think we definitely look past that often. One thing that I wanted to do, what me and Anthony were thinking about doing, and we'll talk about this after we talk about this last point, is when you're planning and trying to shift your perspective in your marriage, surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded, people who are in relationships, people who are married. Yep. It helps shift your perspective on what marriage should look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It really does. Kind of speaking into that, there's a scripture that I like, and it goes. I'm paraphrasing, but it speaks directly to the whole idea of talking to other couples and all of that stuff, and gaining an outside perspective. That's why we talk to other couples, right? So we can get an outside perspective, right?
Yeah.
So the scripture is Proverbs 12:15, and I'm paraphrasing this, but what it says is, the way of a fool believes he's right on his own, or something like that. The way of a fool believes that he's right, but a wise man seeks counsel.
Yes. Seek counsel. Nobody does that anymore.
You know why? This is why. I don't want nobody in my business. They don't know me. They don't need to worry about it. Nah, stay out of my... Bro, come on. Yes. Get off of that. Get off of that.
And sometimes people really just don't want somebody to point them out on their stuff.
Man, because then you judging them.
You gotta preach today, baby. Okay? Because that is exactly how people are. You don't want to share your relationship struggles with anybody else, and you don't want to seek counsel from anybody else. So I guess you know it all.
Listen, judgment on where you're going after we leave this earth, that's one thing. But when you got people who love you that are judging you in a way that's going to help you grow, humble yourself.
Okay.
Humble yourself.
Okay.
Take the advice, take the counsel, and get better.
Absolutely.
Get better. We gotta come off of that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that person that you're seeking counsel from is better than you, and it doesn't mean that they have a squeaky clean marriage. Mm-hmm. But that person could have been through something. That marriage may have been through something that can help you and your spouse become better. And it's so important. So I think you should seek counsel two ways. Definitely marriage counseling.
Yes.
Marriage counseling, 100%. I am very grateful that Anthony made sure that we we're seeking counsel throughout our marriage.
Yep.
Now we kind of slacked off a little bit these last few months,
Mm-hmm.
but he kind of every so often he would make us go just to get a checkup, even if nothing was going on wrong in our marriage.
Yeah.
But seek counsel. Go, not just premarital counseling. We don't talk about that because some people don't even do that anymore. Where they do that, people don't even do that anymore. But premarital counseling, and when you get married, is go to counseling. Somebody who can always help you shape and sculpt your marriage in the way that you want it to be.
Yeah.
In the image that God created marriage to be. Then 2, find you a couple or 2 or 3 people.
Married people, best friends.
Okay. Because can't nobody tell you how to be married and they ain't been married. Okay? Don't stop seeking counsel from your single friends who ain't never been married. They were ultra feminists. Don't get me wrong, ain't nothing wrong with feminism. Okay?
It is International Women's Day.
Okay, listen, I am pro-woman. Don't get me wrong. But the women who, certain people to be like, forget men, women, this, and this. That's not the best where you should go to for advice in your marriage. Just saying. But I'm all women, international women. I think I may have made some people mad.
No, you didn't. They get what you're saying.
Right, I'm hoping. So, one thing, we'll go ahead and introduce this just now, and then we'll talk about it a little later on, too. One thing, since this series is ending today, we're going to start something different.
Yes.
We want to keep things rolling out to you. We want to meet with
rolling. I'm sorry, I had to do it. I have to do it.
We want to meet with other married couples, other people just in relationships, have dinner with you, and then potentially have you here with us discussing your marriage and your relationship, and we can share some advice to each other while other people watch from afar. So if you know a couple, if you know a husband and wife that you would love to see here with us talking about marriage, drop it in the comments.
Add them.
At them.
Point them out.
And nobody is excluded. We want to talk. We want to talk to everybody.
Come join us in the St. Louis area. Though.
Yeah,
St. Louis. I know.
Or Kansas City, because we come to Kansas City.
We do.
Or Kansas City. St. Louis, Kansas City area.
St. Louis, KC, we here.
Let us know. And if it's somebody afar, we'll do something virtual.
Well,
okay?
We'll do something virtual.
So nobody's off limits. Drop those names, and let us know in the comments. You can DM us whatever you see fit. We want to have you on here too. It can be you can yourself can let us know. But yeah, so perspective. So guys, I also one thing I did not.
What?
Let's talk about our perspective of each other.
Okay.
So what is your perspective of our marriage?
What I see is this like are we defining this in any way, or is it just what comes to mind?
What comes to mind?
Okay.
Because it's important for you to see each other in a positive light in your marriage.
Okay.
So I can't stand you.
Okay, sorry.
Unless I throw you on the spot.
with me and Bay, bacon and eggs. With me and Bay,
I hate that.
I do see us as a positive couple. I think, especially in our growth, I think that we've come into like a groove, and I'm really going to just speak to our like where we disagree at. Where we disagree, I really think that's where perspective comes into play the most. But I think where we disagree, we come into a groove of our understanding that allows us to see each other and be patient with each other and really try to understand where it is the other is coming from. So that being said, I do think we are a positive couple. We definitely love each other. I think we are great role models, just individually.
Yeah.
Just individually. Man. Okay. Yeah. That's what comes to mind. Right. This instant.
Yeah. I think in my opinion, of us as a couple, of my husband, is that well, first, he is very understanding, very outgoing, very very loving and caring, and he is kingdom minded. And I think we are kingdom minded. Everything that we do is with Christ in the center. And I think he brings out the best in me because he sees the best in me. You understand what I'm saying? So your perspective of me helps me, see myself in a better light. So this is why it's important, y'all, because that literally, honestly, that's the truth. And that was not rehearsed, because he honestly makes me feel better about myself because he sees good in me. So imagine what you could do to your spouse if you shifted your perspective of them. Yeah. If you have a man, let's talk about that. If you have a man, which you do, you got your man, and you always talking about some, he a dog, or he this, and he that. You think he gonna want to be more than that? Would you want to be more than that? If no. Would you want to?
No.
No. Or if you got a woman and you constantly talking down to her.
Who got that song? I should have cheated.
Keisha Cole.
I should have cheated. Not saying that, but it's the same mindset. If he always telling Keisha Cole, if K. Cole is always getting told that she a little B word and she out here running the streets, then she might as well. Same mindset.
Yeah.
That still ain't no ticket to do so. Those who are on the receiving end, but
since we are concluding the 3-part series, it's important to understand that opting out is not an option in your marriage. Yep. And if you want your marriage to work, if your marriage was founded in Christ, if it was founded in Christ and you would give it more than just, I'm tired of him, or, I don't love him or her anymore, I'm going to fight for it. And one way that you can fight for your marriage, one way that you can help your marriage survive, is by shifting your perspective of that person, and planning, seeking counsel, turning the mirror on yourself and trying to become a better you, and wanting change. You got to first want it.
You got to want it.
If you want it, then we can work.
You got to want it.
Yeah, so if you have a spouse that's done something to you, if you have a spouse and the chemistry is just dropped, if you have a spouse and
it was just a bad day at work.
It was just, or anything like that, or they're going through some changes and you're not quite understanding them at that moment. Try to put yourself in their shoes. Yeah. And if you're unable to do that, you need to first and foremost look at marriage from the standpoint of Christ. And once you do that, shift your perspective to Christ's perspective, then there's going to be change within your marriage. Yeah. Anybody can make it.
Yeah. So, in the comments, y'all, throw down, what you appreciate, what your perspective is of your spouse in the comments. We want to see that stuff. I think that'll be a good conversation in the comment section. So let's keep this going. Even after our live stream, let's keep the conversation going. In the comments, just talk about your spouse. Big them up. Let them know how you see them. I think that's healthy. Don't be afraid either.
I think we're in the time, in this generation, in this time, nobody shows affection the way that you should. Your spouse needs that affection, that love, and they need it in front of somebody too sometimes. Yeah. So definitely do that. Seek counsel, you guys. Please, I cannot say that enough. Because the moment that you're feeling like you want to walk out, there's somebody that can help you change it around. Yeah. Giving up isn't the it shouldn't be an option.
It's not. It's not an option.
Not in your marriage. Not in your marriage.
Yeah, not in dating days. Hey.
Hold on. So y'all know how he was when he was dating. And don't get me started on that. Somebody's some boot. No, I'm not even suggesting that when you date. That is not okay. No.
It's a joke.
So let's do a little recap. Purpose in your marriage. Understand that your foundation of your marriage, if you don't have a solid foundation, your marriage will always be rocky. Figure out what your purpose is in your marriage. to passion. Understand that it's I know it's your favorite. Understand that passion is important. Your spouse needs to know that you love them, that you are attracted to them. But also understand that passion does fade at points in your marriage. And when that passion does fade is when you go back to your purpose and understand that that foundation is why you were there.
Yep.
What is your house built on?
Yep.
Then we're going to get to 3, perspective. When passion fades, when passion fades and arguments are coming about, things are happening in your marriage, shift your perspective.
Shift your perspective.
Shift it.
Go to it.
Absolutely.
Just try it.
Step outside of yourself.
Something might change. Might can't make it.
Yeah. Understand. You throw me off. Understand that stepping inside of your spouse's shoes can reveal some things about you and help you to understand some things about them.
Yep.
Do not be selfish. Selfish in the sense of only thinking that you are always right. Only thinking that your perspective is the right perspective. In marriage, you cannot be selfish. You have to be selfless. So shift your perspective. Plan for some change. Want some change. And talk to your spouse openly about the things that you are going through, the perspective that you currently have. Oh, one idea I have for you guys, especially if you are arguing or anything like that. So what our marriage counselor had us do, and we did it a couple times, but now we do it without the little prop. So you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember that.
So our marriage counselor, he gave us a little piece of wood. Now it doesn't have to be a piece of wood. It can be whatever you want.
It was a piece of hardwood floor.
A piece of hardwood floor, okay? And it was super awesome. And I think it's important for you, that piece of hardwood floor. So pretty much what happens is when you are trying to understand your spouse's perspective in an argument, oftentimes I already know when you're mad, you don't want to see things from the other person's point of view. But once again, let's go back to our foundation and shift our perspective. So what happens is whoever has that piece of hardwood floor has the floor to speak.
They got the floor.
They have the floor to speak. And once they have finished speaking, the first and foremost, when they have that floor to speak, the other person cannot say anything.
Shut up.
Your job in that moment is to just listen.
Shut up.
That's not what you say to your spouse. Once after you finish saying what you need to say, you hand the floor to your spouse and say, now you have the floor.
Mm-hmm. And
before you say your piece, you properly communicate back what they said to you.
Don't be afraid to take notes either.
He does it, y'all. No lie.
Don't be afraid. Because some spouses can be a little more long-winded than others. And when you have a response to something that they said, they're 3-4 subjects down the line and you trying to process what you was going to say in response to one thing they said. So take some notes, okay? It's okay to do that. It's okay to say, wait, hold on, please. Write your note down. Continue. You got to slow it down so you can really understand that perspective, so you can really get that perspective. If anything, it's not a slap in the face. It's a sign that you're trying.
Yeah.
So do it if you need to. If you're not, if you can keep up the conversation.
It's not like you're trying to be funny like, Coach, let me make this list of all the things they got a problem with. No. But another thing also in that situation, if you do have a lot to say, break it up. That person cannot process everything that you're saying all in one sitting, in that one thing that you say. Okay? Because then when you have them the floor, they're like, well, I think you said, let me get this right. Yeah. So break it up into little things. And then once they give you the floor, you respond. Now, guarantee this will take some time. Mm-hmm. But you have to invest the time in your marriage. It may be a 20-minute conversation about who cleans up.
It may be an hour-long conversation, but you got to be willing to sit that down.
You do. You know? And now, a confession, though, he is the one that always wants to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm not. But it's also in those moments is giving your spouse the time to process their own feelings. Because in the midst of raw emotions, you can't properly think or communicate your feelings. So one thing that him and I had an issue with or was trying to get better with was him giving me space to process my emotions. Because my husband, we can be in it. We be in the thick. We need to talk about this right now. Yeah. Right now. And granted, I'm happy that I got a husband who wants to fix it immediately. But I mean, I'm the type of sister, you gotta give a second. Okay? Because then I'm gonna say,
look, I'll be ready, like, let's get this fixed. Let's get this fixed, done, over with, so we can get back on being all lovey-dovey and ooey-gooey and stuff.
But you have to understand that everybody is not built like you. And this is why it's important to shift your perspective and understand the type of person that your spouse is. He can perform well in those moments. I cannot. I need about an hour and a half. And then we can talk about it. But don't take too long, everybody. Always come back and have the conversation.
Don't ever let it go past sleep time.
No.
Don't ever let it go past sleep time. Just don't do it. If you're getting up on the time where you still don't want to talk about it, you need to just suck it up and handle it and quit running, because you running now. So just handle it.
And then you're just being stubborn. Just being stubborn. Now, granted, I will tell you this. So, one thing in our marriage that we decided to never do was to sleep apart from each other, no matter how mad we were. Even if Anthony ain't mad at me, he can't sleep on the couch. I don't care if he stopped watching. He was watching his favorite show and fell asleep. I don't care.
It's so weird, too.
Come get in this bed.
She's like the woman off Misery. Like, she'll just come and stand over me. And, like, it's just like, and I wake up and it's weird. Like, okay, I guess I'll get up now. And it's just weird. It's kind of creepy. But it works. But I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know.
It does.
But I know we're up on our time.
Yeah.
It's been 30 minutes. Yeah, like we said, thank y'all for watching. Be sure to, throw some comments if you're watching the replay of this or whatever. Throw comments in there. We're always watching.
Yes.
Let's keep the conversation going, too, about your spouse. What you view and what you think about your spouse. Give us a follow. You can find me on Instagram at photog_Anthony. You can find Essence at
Mrs. M-R-S Essence R on Instagram. And we'll also put the link to the YouTube in this as well. So click it.
On the Facebook page, you'll find the YouTube link in the description. So that's there. Go. Make sure you go subscribe so you can get all the updates and more coming from the Essence's blog.
Yes, go to essencerobinson.com. Mm-hmm. In the top right-hand corner, there'll be a tab that says YouTube. Click it. It'll take you to the YouTube page. Subscribe for all additional goodies. We have a lot of more things coming your way. Remember, opting out is not an option. Stay strong. Fight for your marriage. Fight for your spouse, because you both are worth it in it, okay?
Yeah.
So, don't forget that.
Thanks for joining us. Yes. We will be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
And hopefully with a couple. So,
with a couple. Y'all. Tag your friends. We want to talk to them, all right? Enjoy your nights, everybody. Have good weekends.
Love y'all.
Blessings. We love you.